another episode of Bryno's Brews, the show where I drink and evaluate the wonderful nectar of the gods that is beer. On this week's episode, we're going just a little bit south of Bryno Central to Kentucky, where we've got one of their famous bourbon barrel ales. This one in particular is their Honey Barrel Brown Ale, an ale brewed with Kentucky honey and ginger, aged in oak barrels. This weighs in at 10% alcohol by volume. Very hefty beer. If this is like their traditional bourbon barrel ale, it should be really, really good. Before we do that though, we've got a special scoring system that we use on this show. Let's go over that real quick.
Scoring for Bryno's Brews is based loosely on the scoring system used by the Beer Judge Certification Program. In our system, a beer can earn a maximum of 10 points. 1 point can be awarded for appearance, 2 points for aroma, 4 points for flavor, 1 point for mouthfeel, and 2 points can be awarded for a beer's overall impression. And finally, partial points can be awarded in any category.
So that's how scoring works. So let's see how the Honey Barrel Brown Ale measures up. This is a heavy alcohol beer, so let's see what happens. Tiny poosh there, but this is from a regular bottle, not a bomber. So first off, 1 point for the appearance. It's a brown ale, so I'm expecting a bit on the dark side, but not too dark. So here we go. 1 point on the line. Here we go. Here comes the pour. So far, so good. Looks like a proper brown to me. Of course, sadly, the measuring stick for brown ales is Newcastle, so first let's take a look at the head. Pretty nice. Maybe it's just me, but I would expect it to be a tiny bit thicker, but that's okay. I can still see a little bit of the bubbles in the carbonation. At the same time, this is carbonated, so that might come into play here. Let's see the color here. Hold up against the light. A little bit of see-through, but I think that's okay with the brown ale. Overall, it looks pretty good. The head's maybe a little disappointing, but at the same time, malty ales aren't supposed to be too carbonated. Retention's pretty good though. So you know what? Out of 1 possible point for the appearance, I'm going to give it 0.9. Either that or... Up next, 2 points on the line for aroma. Everything that's pleasing to the nose. Let's not waste any time. Let's get nose deep into this beer. I can smell the bourbon almost right away. And I can also smell the maltiness that you would get from a brown ale. Combined, they're fantastic. Don't smell much of anything else, though. It smells like a proper brown ale with a little bit of a bourbon hints to it. That's good. Definitely not smelling much of anything else, but it smells very, very good. To repeat, I smell the bourbon, I smell the malt, I don't smell much of anything else, and I don't want to smell anything else. I can't really smell any honey, but then again, kind of hard to really actually smell honey. It's better for tasting. So out of 2 points for the aroma, I think I would be very, very fair giving it 1.7. And now here comes the big one, 4 points on the line for flavor. This is the part I look forward to the most with beers, obviously. So 4 points on the line for the Honey Barrel Brown Ale. Bottoms up. Hard to identify really anything in that first taste, though. Let's try another one. With the regular bourbon barrel ale, that was just their Kentucky ale aged in bourbon and oak barrels. And that's got a really good sweet finish to it. This one, I don't want to say there's too much going on, but it seems like a lot of stuff cancels each other out. I think my mouth is just interfering with the taste. I don't know what it is. Got a little bit of the bourbon there, and got some of the maltiness too. I think I got more of the bourbon than the maltiness, but they go together very, very well. As for the honey, I'm not getting any of that at all. I don't doubt that it's in there, but at the same time, I know from personal experience that it's almost impossible to get any real honey flavor out of anything that calls itself a honey product. I've tried homebrewing some beers with honey in it before, And it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get honey flavor out of pure honey. So on that note, it shouldn't really be a shocker that there's no honey flavor in this. But still, there's honey on the label, so you'd think that there would be a little bit of honey, and there's not. But again, the bourbon's there. The malt is there. I think I'm getting some of the oak characteristics too. Flavor rock wise, it's good. It's not mind blowing, but it's good. If I had to choose between this and the regular bourbon barrel ale, I'd probably go for the regular bourbon barrel ale over this. I think I've got a score in mind. It's definitely not worthy of a 4, but it is absolutely worthy of a 3. I think if maybe it had a little bit more of maybe the sweetness or the unique characteristics of bourbon mixed with malt, it might have gotten a higher score. If I could taste something that resembled more the bourbon barrel ale with maybe a little bit of the brown ale flavor, or even some honey in it, if I could get some real honey flavor out of it, maybe put it in after it was fermented, then maybe it would get a higher score. Because it's not there, it only gets a 3. Nearing the home stretch, 1 point is on the line for mouthfeel. I think this is going to get a good score in that regard. It felt good in the mouth when I was tasting it, so let's evaluate that individually. Here we go. Carbonation is perfect. I can't really think of any good words to describe the body on it. It feels perfect in the mouth too. I'm not getting much of a burn, which is all right, which is definitely good. And the flavors are not too strong. They're not too heavy. And the beer itself is not too heavy, and it's not too light either. It's just right, which is surprising for me for a 10% alcohol beer. Although that might be some of the bourbon too. But in the mouth, it just feels perfect. It feels like what a beer like this should feel like. So for mouthfeel at a 1 point, I'm giving it the full point. And now for the overall impression. Apart from a few knocks from the flavor, again, I would like more of the sweetness of just that unique flavor that you get from bourbon with aged in oak barrels. I'd like a little bit more of that. I don't know if the brown ale measures up with that nicely. I know the company's regular bourbon barrel ale is fantastic, but this is still okay. Again, if I had to choose between this and the regular bourbon barrel ale, I'd get the regular one. I'd also definitely prefer the bourbon barrel stout over this beer as well. But this is okay. In a pinch, this will do. Again, I'm also not getting any of the honey flavor. And as I described before, it's kind of hard to get honey flavor out of a beer with just honey. However, given that honey is prominently on the label, you'd think you'd get some of that kind of flavor. But I'm not getting any of it. I'm getting a little bit of nice things in the back of my mouth. But I'd like the honey flavor to be a little bit more obvious than that. Even if it's subtle, I'd like it to be somewhat obvious. Got a score in mind here for the overall impression. I mean, it's not great, but it's very good. Would I get this regularly? No, I wouldn't. I believe this was $10 for a 4-pack, which is roughly, maybe it's either 10 to 12. I can't remember exactly. That's how much the Kentucky products typically run. So for the score, I'm thinking 1.6 would be fair. I have done the math, and if my numbers are right, then Kentucky Honey Barrel Brown Ale from All-Tex Lexington Brewing Company gets, out of 10 possible points, 8.2. I think that's a fairly respectable score and a well-deserved score. I think maybe if the sweetness was a little bit more on point, then maybe it would have gotten a 9, because that sweetness would match very well with the honey and with the bourbon that's in there. Maybe if there was more of a honey presence in there, it would have gotten a little bit higher. At the same time, maybe a brown ale wouldn't exactly be the best beer to match up with something like this. Something where maybe the honey can shine more, since you got sweetness counteracting sweetness from the brown ale. But otherwise, it's still pretty good. If you're in a pinch and the normal Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale is not available, give this a try. Or if you're curious, give it a try. Well, that will do it for another episode of Bryno's Brews here on Bryno's World. I want to thank you all very, very much for watching. If you've tried this beer before and had a different opinion of it than mine, or if you got suggestions for another beer I can try in the show, please leave a comment down below. Otherwise, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to Bryno's World if you have not already. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching, and have yourself a good day.